So are you in adapted concentration?
I am not.
What classes have you taken that were adapted?
I've taken 356, which is adapted phys ed, and inclusive, which is inclusive activities, PE.
Do you feel like that's prepared you enough to teach students with varying disabilities?
To an extent, the lab period that we have every Monday for an hour, throughout the course of the semester, you get a lot of experience.
3, 2, 1, release.
So are you in adapted concentration?
I'm not.
What classes have you taken that included adapted?
I've taken inclusive and 356, which is adapted P.E.
After taking those classes, do you feel like you're prepared to both teach and advocate for students with varying disabilities?
I feel like both classes did prepare me well, but I would like to further my studies in it.
Yeah. In New York State, you only need 3 credits in adapted to teach it. Do you feel like those are enough credit hours?
I don't, just because I hear from other people, from experience, from teachers that I know that are out in the field, that every class you get, you're going to be working hands-on with inclusive students. So I feel that it's necessary to involve more credits for the major.
Awesome. You just played beep baseball and goalball. That are both sports for visually impaired individuals. How do you feel after playing those?
That was very difficult. I give props to everyone who can actually play the sport.
Awesome.
3, 2, 1, release.
Oh!
1, release.
Are you in adapted concentration?
No, I am not.
What classes have you taken that included adapted?
Well, I've taken 356, which is students with disabilities, and then I've taken inclusive, which is also about including all the students with disabilities, putting them in a regular classroom setting.
In New York State, you only need 3 credits to teach adapted PE. Do you feel like those are enough credits?
Maybe a couple more classes. I feel like this class we should have been in the gym a couple more times and do more activities, because inclusive is basically just activities like this, but not as in depth. And the other class, 356, is it's kind of like this, but yeah, it's more in the classroom.
With the classes you took, do you feel like you're ready to teach children of varying disabilities and advocate for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I could definitely take a couple more classes just to get more experience. The only experience I had was in this lab on Monday nights, and other than that, that's all I had. Basically one semester's worth of work.
So you just played goalball and beep baseball, which are both sports for individuals who are visually impaired. How do you feel after trying out those sports?
Very hard. Beep ball is it's tough. It's tough to make contact with the ball, and then in the outfield it's even harder. And another hard thing is even finding the bases if you do hit the ball.
You got it. There you go. You're almost there. Keep going.
So are you in the adapted concentration?
Yes.
Do you feel like it's prepared you to teach students with disabilities?
Yeah, I think it's helped me see what I can do to adapt to a classroom.
As far as for New York State, you only need 3 credits to teach adapted. Do you feel like that's enough credits?
No, not really.
So you just played goalball and beep baseball, which are sports for the visually impaired. How do you feel after playing those games?
So I realized how hard they were, and I give props to the people that do play it.
Yeah. Are you in adapted concentration?
Yes.
Do you feel like the classes you've taken have prepared you to teach students with varying disabilities?
Yes, definitely. Even like the labs, like being able to work with individuals, not just scenarios, is a lot of help.
In New York State, you only need 3 credits to teach adapted PE. Do you think that's enough credits?
I don't think that's enough, because only being able to work with one person, there's so many varying disabilities, and being able to, especially in McDonald's adult class, helps a lot too, to just see the varying disabilities.
Yeah, awesome. You just played beep baseball and goalball. How do you feel after trying out those sports for people who are visually impaired?
I definitely realized how hard it is, and I think that they like put in a lot of practice, and just realizing like where they are in the court is like very hard when you are used to seeing it.
Do you have a concentration in adapted physical education?
No, I do not.
What classes in adapted have you taken so far?
356, which is an adaptive course where I also took an inclusive activities course.
Do you feel prepared to teach and advocate for students with disabilities?
Yes and no. I have a background in Special Olympics, so I feel that also kind of helps in a way, but I wish I would maybe have somewhat more experience or more outside opportunities to kind of be involved and be around that group of individuals.
New York State only requires you to have 3 credit hours in adapted to be able to teach it. Do you feel like that's enough?
No hours, or just again like more outside opportunities for like us teacher candidates to get involved with students with disabilities would help a little bit more.
I know you recently played on the goalball team. Can you tell me a little bit more about that experience and how it affected your point of view in disability sport?
Definitely with my language I used. So one of my teammates was visually impaired, and a lot of my language I would have to kind of check myself before I said it, like in terms of like, I saw that the snack table's over there, and like just leave it at that. Like I would have to like remember to kind of like give him like detailed directions of like, oh, you have to walk straight 5 steps and turn to your left, and it'll be right in front of you, like, very detailed. Also, again, with being in new areas, new places, like if the individual hasn't been there before, they don't know exactly where they are, so they really are dependent on someone to kind of guide them. So like, instead of me just walking away and like assuming that he's just gonna follow and like hear my voice, he like needs like the individual needed to grab my shoulder or my elbow, or I have to grab their elbow to direct them to wherever they needed to go. And just again also like kind of how independent they can be and not so dependent on people. Like they can manage through a day, like getting up every day, taking a shower, getting themselves dressed and whatnot. Like they're not like incapable of being on their own. If anything, they just need extra assistance to get through their day sometimes.
All right, thank you.
So, Jenna, do you have a concentration in Adapted P.E?
I do.
Do you feel like that concentration has prepared you to both teach and advocate students with disabilities?
I feel like I'm prepared to teach. I can make appropriate modifications and adaptations, but when it comes to advocating, I feel like I'm not prepared enough because I don't know all of the laws.
In New York State, you only need 3 credits to teach Adapted P.E. Do you feel like that's a sufficient amount of credits?
I don't think so. I mean, with the concentration, we have 12 credits, and even now I'm like a little bit timid of teaching. If it was just students that have disabilities, I feel like I wouldn't be prepared. So only having 3 credits ever, I don't think that that'd be enough.
Awesome, thanks.